Hello and welcome to the delicious recipe here on UPRN, United Public Radio, out of New Orleans. And if you're watching us live, you can be checking us out on video on UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, and also UFO Paranormal Radio. Oh, you're scratching there, Laura.
Sorry, I had to move things because the audio was weird. Sorry.
Okay. The other channel is UFO Paranormal Radio. UFO Paranormal Radio is done twice. That's on the YouTube. You're also on Facebook, UPRN. We're also on Spreaker, iHeart, SoundCloud, everywhere else that podcasts are being played. You can find us there with the United Public Radio. The show is The Delicious Recipe. It is Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This episode is called Beaver Tales. And I have my returning guest, my other half there, Lorilei. Say hi, Lorilei.
Hi, Lorilei. I'm the host
There.
of the Angel Rock on Monday nights here on UPRN. And yeah, thanks for having me, Del.
Yes, so as it, my recurring guest always there. So we're trying to get things all worked out here. So this one is Beaver Tales. So before we get into this news, that it's basically going to be just a potpourri of news around the world, but there's one thing that I've sort of been checking out there lately, and Lorilei knows all about this. I've been watching these machinery shows and stuff like that, and I got into this whole thing about, it's almost like an ASMR thing. It's about people taking down beaver dams. You know, right? It's sort of these really weird guys.
Well, you always forget to mention that even though we're broadcasting out of New Orleans, Louisiana, we are from Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, Canada. And anybody that knows anything about Canada, no, we don't live in igloos, but we do have quite a bit of wildlife as our mascots or symbolism for Canada, the beaver being one of them.
Yes, that is true. Good information there. So I got into this sort of, it's not even like a rabbit hole. It was just sort of just catching these shows there, channels on YouTube about, usually it started off with machinery, then it went into doing excavation, do it yourself stuff. And then all of a sudden this part with getting rid of these beaver dams. And I was going into these channels and I was thinking, it says, how is this channel here like getting rid of like 3-4 beaver dams a week? And then there was more channels, and there's a slew of them on the internet.
Yeah, but they're not in Canada, right? They're over in Europe.
Yeah, Europe, Eurasia, yeah, Russia. And so I was wondering, says how, like, at first I thought it was just the farmer, and it, like, going, boy, this guy's got a beaver infestation, like if they're plugging up all his waterways for his crops and that. But then it was like, no, this is actually, there's a lot of these things. So I started looking into this a little bit, and it's the Eurasian beaver. So I started researching it. I guess it was almost down to being wiped out back at the beginning of the 20th century. They were down to like about 1,200 of them. And then there was man intervened, and we all know what happens when man intervenes, eh, Lorilei?
Yeah, I went on about that for about half an hour today because I just get so upset. No, never mind that I'm a registered nurse. I also am an energy healer, do Akashic records, a clairvoyant medium, and things like that. But the one reason I mention that is I really truly believe that we are meant to be in balance on this earth. I'm not getting all woo-woo here, but think about it. We live in duality, right? We got light, we got dark, we got hot, we got cold. But the reason I mention that is every single time man has intervened thinking they know better than nature, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, they mess it up. And is this any different this time, Del?
Well, I guess in one part there is that they've sort of replenished the stock of beavers. So this is interesting. So I guess it was, if I'm right here, up to about, I think it was 1998, the population of this Eurasian beaver has gone from 1,200 to over 1.5 million. And now they cover a territory all the way from Finland, basically over Europe, Northern Europe, all the way to the Mongolian coastline. Right, so you got them all the way across, and then they also go down to like Spain and that.
Gee, I wonder why. You didn't have to tell me why. I already figured out. Why would this happen that the population would increase exponentially?
Yeah, so I was like, wow. So I was looking at, there's a couple of maps you can check out there about the Eurasian beaver. Actually, Wikipedia has a good site on there, and they give a little history of it about the the thing for beavers, and usually was taken for their castor, and that was used in the perfumes and stuff like that. But and then the pelts were used for clothing and that, and hats and
And
stuff like.
felt hats. Yeah, but
Yeah,
now that's no longer the fashion nor the style. For
correct.
you'll be crucified if you wear fur. So again, we get into there's no natural predators to keep the balance and check in place that nature had in place.
Yes, and that's been a theme that's gone on through the uh, through the hundreds of years there, where man has intervened. We've talked before about Australia with the cane toads, because they had a problem with this beetle that was there, and then they brought these toads in, thinking that their life cycle and their I guess their breeding habits offset there. So this cane toad had no natural predators. Plus, it's a little bit bad of taste for the natural predators that are down there, and I
So
guess sort of poisonous, I guess, in a way. And they don't like eating the beetles. So now you've got two problems. You got a beetle problem, and you have a cane toad problem, and then you have a human problem where people get into accidents because there's so many of these cane toads that they drive over them, and they're like grease, and then people go off the road and stuff like that.
yeah, but the whole thing behind this story is that we need to take a step back. Like we even discussed this before we went on air today about the fact, like you said, yeah, but the population was down to 1,200 from what it used to be. I said, yes, I recognize that, but for whatever reason, the population was staying at that number, which meant that it was able to sustain itself, not necessarily increase the population. So there were checks and balances within nature, but then man thinking they know better, and we've got Mr. William Gates releasing genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida. We haven't seen the
Mm-hmm.
repercussions of that yet, but the whole thing is it has never worked out well when man has decided to intervene.
Yep, and we brought the same thing happened with the honeybees through Central and America and into the States. Is they brought over an African bee with a European bee to help with the bee population over here, because there is, through California and other places in the States there and in Canada. You need bees for pollination for these fruit crops and stuff like that. And then you had this crossbreeding that came over bit there. You had the same problem with when early on, when bringing over wildlife like the pigs to the States. Now you have a huge problem in through Florida and Louisiana and stuff like this, where the hogs have gone wild.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens with everything, with invasive species and with invasive plants, that we've talked about that many times there before. So it's not a good idea when man starts to interfere and think they know better than Mother Nature. What do you say about that there, Lorilei?
I have to agree, but the reason why we kind of talked about this and I think it's a good segue into things is when you look at the bigger picture. And that's the problem. Whomever takes it upon themselves, regardless of who they may be, that makes a decision that they know best, whether it's for humanity, whether it's for the planet, no matter what it is, it never seems to work out well. I can honestly say I'm sure there are things that I haven't thought of, but usually when something is undertaken, such as these beavers, but we go even bigger globally, we end up with a problem. We don't see the problem right away till a few years after the fact.
Yes, and that sort of segues us into a part there with, you could say, sort of with medicine, when they say trust the science, trust the people that are in charge, but no one is actually uh, checking the facts on the people that are making the decisions. And that goes into a lot of things there. You have the one story there that you had mentioned to me before there.
Uh, it was with this, it was on Rebel News today. I had a hard time finding it, but I know I had seen it. I think somebody had sent it to me. And apparently, there is a female constable, which is a police officer here in Canada. And she's in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. And about a year ago, she was put on paid leave, or suspension, I should say. She didn't choose to leave voluntarily, because she started investigating why are we seeing this massive number of infant deaths. And she dug a little deeper to find out the status of where women were with what they may have put into their bodies. We'll be very careful because we're on YouTube here. And we're not trying to get into a debate. Is this good? Is it not good? She just wanted to look into what is going on. Why are we, and folks, you can take a look yourself. The numbers for young people, for babies, for all over, people passing away at record numbers that we have not seen over five. They've even gone back further than that, but the last 5-year average compared to last year. And very quickly, we'll be probably getting into the numbers for this year. And so anyway, she was investigating this. And she has now, I believe there's been some repercussions for this that I sent you the article, Del. It was on Instagram on Rebel News, but it sounds like there's going to be repercussions for her, basically being terminated and investigated for doing her job, I believe.
Yeah, because you sent me there, I looked at there is that she faces misconduct charges after a year-long suspension of her looking into this. I guess she wasn't supposed to look into it, but she was doing this on her own to try and figure this out. So that's sort of a really
If that
interesting.
was anything else, though, let's just we're being careful with what.
Oh, did I lose you there, Laura? I might have lost her there, or lost her sound there briefly. Can I hear you still?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now there. Yeah, you sort of
I'm having problems with my signal. When you're talking, I might move to another part of the room. It's so weird. I'm right over top the Wi-Fi, and the last couple of times I've been having problems. Anyways, my whole point with this is, had we been in a different time, say 5 years previous to what we've just gone through, there would be no problem and no question. This would be a requirement of her job when you're seeing exorbitant amounts of babies passing away and they can't really find out what the cause is. You're going to get some kind of police investigation into this.
Well, I guess that's the whole experiment. I guess you could say, in a nutshell, is this has been talked about several times there from other healthcare professionals that sort of were looking at what was being said, and they're saying that, well, with any type of medicine, is that there is usually a 10-year period where you go and study this stuff and you see what reactions there are. There's protocols that go through, and we've seen over the past 2 years is that basically that those protocols were not followed. They were just warp speeded, as the term is said, and basically the world population became the test subject. So you have on other parts of news there. We'll go through some of the news stuff that I've been sort of noticing going on there. Celine Dion, she's gotten herself, I guess, this new rare syndrome, and I saw it on Good Morning Canada or Good Morning America. It was posted up on there. Is that she's got this very rare syndrome. It's called stiff person syndrome, and actually the doctor that was on there on the news was sort of saying is that this is something that is not even looked at when you go to medical school. Like, this is such a rarity syndrome that has sort of popped up to her. I guess her vocal cords get stiff and her movement is very stiff. It's very painful for her, and she did a little brief little thing there. You can check that out on the YouTubes there. Her part about that, but that goes along with other things that the papers that I gave you there. These are things from the CDC site, and this is right from the CDC. I just downloaded or printed these off there earlier today. But they're finding that a small percentage of people, like with all medicines and stuff like that, there is other factors that can, I guess, cause people to have different sort of reactions to it. There's things like myocarditis, pericarditis, GPS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, stuff like that.
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you got the parts there anyways there, Laura. You want to tell them, well, I think there's 5 of them, I think, on there that the CDC has found that can happen from, and these are from people that have been jabbed.
So you can get anaphylaxis, which is a severe life-threatening allergic reaction. It's immediate without warning usually, and if you don't get immediate intervention, you will die. I have seen people that has happened to being a nurse. The other thing in here is thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. So thrombosis is massively large blood clots in large organs, and they are seeing that. And if this is something that possibly piques your interest, and we always tell people on your show and mine, please don't take our word for it. Please take a look for yourself. Might have to dig a little bit, but not too far.
Yeah.
And you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we've said here many times, we're throwing a lot of information, ingredients into the pot, and we're going to see what maybe there's a flavor and ingredient that you like there. So this is just doing research there, people out there, is just going and looking up things and to use sites. Try not to use Google sites. Try to use something alternative, because you'll be directed most of the time to the top Google approved sites. So stuff like DuckDuckGo or any of the other ones like that, and you'll find a different search order than you will get off of the mainstream sites.
Or you may not even see it. It just
correct.
depends what it is. So it's good to use a variety.
Yeah.
So you're getting that. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to take a look at John O'Looney, I think his name is, from the US. And you can also look up undertakers or funeral directors who do post-mortem body preparations. And what many more and more and more are speaking out that they indeed are seeing these type of clots. And there's video, there's footage of it. You can check it out. We're not saying anything one way or another. We're just putting the report out there for you.
Yeah, and we're not
Okay.
against any part of you taking anything.
Nope. You got to do what's right for you.
That's correct there, and it should be under your own medical I guess situation is individual, and that we've mentioned this many times. There is that for someone to give a blanket medical diagnosis for an entire population of the earth is rather insane. Like everybody's body is not the same. Period. So this is just bringing up stuff there, and these are rare occurrences that they're not. But as information is coming in, we're finding more situations of this.
Well, and the deeper you dig, you start getting into some of the blood work and some of the T fighter cells that we were seeing, and you may have heard those words depending how old you are, back in the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And like I said, the deeper you dig, you'll find some interesting stuff that is backed up with research, which is backed up with, this is not, I hate that term conspiracy anyways. But yeah, do some digging, because Guillain-Barré syndrome, yes, it's always existed. Same as myocarditis has always existed, but it has been extremely, extremely, extremely rare. Neurological type paralysis. I know people that have had to be put in medically induced comas and what have you, have to be on a ventilator to breathe for them. And it's usually some type of virus attacking the body that can cause Guillain-Barré syndrome. So to see it with the frequency that we're seeing it, same as myocarditis, and to be put out there that it's just a mild little thing. It just shows up and then, you carry on with life. No, it's the same reason why when people have something called a heart attack, depending on the severity of the heart attack, the heart cannot regenerate. So if there's damage, it doesn't go away. So it can definitely affect you. So there's quite a few things that are coming out of here. There is another one that is quite, I don't know if you want to bring it up now or not, but I'm going to bring up one you didn't put on the list that gets me really going. First of all, strokes in children are not common, nor are heart attacks. You can go back through history, you can go back through medical journals. They're very, very, very rare, including this new one out there that is supposedly being normalized as sudden adult death syndrome. That has never existed before the last few years. So there's that. And the other one, spinning VAXX syndrome. That in itself, that's got, you could do a whole show on that, because there's a lot of theories, but nobody knows what it is or why it's happening. People do seem to be holding a cell phone with that. Every
So what
single video.
explain to them what it looks like.
Okay. So what this looks like, and somebody sent me a video that was almost 2 hours long of people caught on video this happening all around the world. So what is happening? The person's just sitting there, normal, having a conversation, perfectly fine, and all of a sudden, and it always seems to be when they're holding a device. I swear to God, and it's not just a few cases. You can see this for yourself. And then they stop and they start turning around in circles and they're looking, and it's almost like they're fighting with something. And then they just sort of keel over and they all make this very, very odd, high pitched noise. I know it sounds crazy, but you can see it. It's very, very interesting. And nobody seems to know what this is. I'm surprised there was even a title for this. But it is happening with a lot of frequency. Seems a lot over in Asia, especially too, and bigger countries over there, but all
Wow.
over. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're even saying with that part with this, what are they calling it there? The monkeypox. Is that the new one that they were talking out there? And I was looking off of the CDC site and also off the BBC.co.uk site, and also also the WHO site there too as well. And there's another one you can look at, cureus.com. But they were saying like this. I guess this is sort of goes almost similar to the HIV epidemic, and what they said that it was between male and male sexual partners, where this is being, I guess, pushed forward, or it's being spread a little bit more. But they said that there is other spreading of this through other means, but that was the main one where they were seeing the biggest amount of instances of this. And there's another site, if you people are interested in looking at there, it's www.who, that's the World Health Organization .nt, and you can go into this, and they have this thing, this disease outbreak news, and I just went through the first page. There was like 15 pages, and it goes through date, and the biggest thing that I saw through here was through it's mostly happening in Africa, is where these outbreaks are happening the most in third world countries. What do you figure? But yes, also figures that this amount of travel of people that are going to and leaving from those places and going back into the new world or stuff like that, or through Europe, and that how things can be passed through. And the biggest ones they were getting there was like the Ebola, dengue fever, MERS-CoV, cholera, avian influenza A, Rift Valley fever, malaria, Marburg virus, legionellosis, yellow fever. That was just going back to September. So there's a lot, and that was a biggest part. I guess that was a test area Africa was for a lot of these jab stuff that happened during the pandemic. What would you say about that there, Laura?
Well, none of those that you mentioned are new. Some of them have been attributed to even, their first outbreaks years ago in Africa. So I think, like, you got to be careful when we're treating this subject. And again, we're not trying to tell people what to do. We're just sharing the information. And, people have to do their research and see what they think. Because the deeper you dig and the more research you do with an open mind, looking at everything. And then I guess people need to decide for themselves, taking a look at it and thinking, what does this feel like to me? Does this feel right? Does it feel like is this right for me? Is this right for my family? But the only thing I would really urge people to do is to do your homework. And I have said this about anything, not just about the jab, not about anything. I have an acquaintance, for example, who needed some serious orthopedic surgery on their neck. And they've been told by their specialists that, nope, can't be done. Nope, absolutely not. You're going to end up paralyzed. That's a one person, right? And it would be like anything that we want to get fixed or you want to learn or whatever. we live in a world of what, almost, 7 billion plus people, right?
Mhm.
So that's one person's opinion. So when you look and talk to various different people, and not just in your own backyard, the beauty is we have the internet. Take a look, because we can look at things like cancer. And there's been specials out there that people have done, documentaries that you look at what different areas of the world are using, say, to treat it. And it's like night and day versus, say, what the Western medicine model is about, right? To treat it. No, I'm not knocking the Western medicine model. What I'm saying is, if maybe that's not a good fit for, say, somebody, that there
Mhm.
are other options. You just got to dig a little deeper, talk to more people, and do a bit more research. And I think it's a good idea to get a picture of the whole picture, because sometimes people never leave the city they live in their whole lives, but we have a whole world out there.
Yep, exactly. And this has been sort of a thing, not a thing, but a process that a lot of people, especially people that have money, that they've gone to if they've been uh, diagnosed with something, where they've gone off to Europe or South America, where
Mhm.
new, well, even medical places here that are in North America, they go and do their testing and put their labs in foreign countries, because the the country that they live in, they don't allow that type of testing or that experimental uh, science to go on. So there's been a lot of people that have gone over to other countries where the medical stuff is a little bit lax. And now the thing is about that too is that you do run a risk of anything that when you basically you have to do your research and get make sure you check stuff out, and just don't go and run and go and get things done, because there has been many times where doing something like that where it's been horrific results that have happened with that, with uh, complications, I guess you could say. But also in other parts there's been things that have happened where the treatment here doesn't wasn't available, but it was available somewhere
It
else,
it
which
doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be medicine. It could be your car. It could
yeah.
be even when you want to buy something that's not available in your country, but it's not illegal or anything. You just can't get it. You can go outside your country and do it. That's what I'm saying. There's so many other options, that just because somebody has MD in front of their names, and I'm not knocking them, all I'm saying is they're human beings just like we are. So it's good to get a well-rounded picture from, take a look, see what's out there, see what feels right to you. Do you feel like maybe that's something you might want to look at, or you'd be open to trying? Or I find usually people are more open to that when it comes to health, when they've been given no other option. If they've been told we're out of options, we have nothing else, right?
Mhm.
And people look elsewhere and they go, holy cow, I had no idea this even existed.
That is very true.
Hmm.
So if was it, well, besides that part there, who was the other person there? Oh, the Kirstie Alley one there, that was another one there. She had just passed away. I guess she was dealing with cancer as well. So but yeah, that was sort of weird in a way, because any sort of things that you saw about her during that time, it's almost like the Norm Macdonald thing, is that no one knew that he was actually really sick, and then just all of a sudden, pop, boom. And there's been a lot of really mysterious, I guess you could say, or suspicious, not mysterious, but suspicious passings away of certain people. There was the, well, you can even go back even further with Anthony Bourdain and Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, and then you can go into Bob Saget. You can go into well, yeah, Norm Macdonald. Um, who knows with this Kirstie Alley thing how it goes with that one there, but it's sort of really weird to see somebody, and like we said there before, is that with this sudden death syndrome, you're seeing a lot of youths uh, that are in pretty prime, I
Okay.
guess, fitness and well-being, that all of a sudden the lights go out. And I don't know if that's really been really looked into as deeply because of the part that nobody wants to go and talk about the science or talk about anything. right? Because it goes against what the narrative is. What do you feel about that there, Lord?
Well, I think what it is, and especially if you're not a person that is able to possibly have that type of conversation with those around you for whatever reasons, whether it might be inflammatory or, you know, it ends up being a lot of finger pointing and name calling versus sitting down, hearing each other out, even agreeing to disagree, but hearing each other out. So a lot of people don't want to discuss this. They don't want to get into it, right? They just rather just we've met people like that that'll just say, "No, I'm too busy. I got too much going on. I just rely on what I see if the TV's on, and that's it." And to each their own. That's okay too. It's just like I said, I really believe there's always an answer. Always. If we dig deep enough, and it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't have to be medicine. It could be anything. I believe that we can find the answer. It's out there. There's
Yeah,
enough of
well,
us out there.
yeah, exactly. I just even know from myself, and this goes with my own medical history. There is that back 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, is before the pandemic started, going in and getting an assessment done by, I guess what are those people called? They're not a doctor. What is the nurse practitioner? And given this is what their diagnosis was, and then says, okay, take these pills, and this will be done. Come back if it's not okay. Get a different doctor. Says, oh no, that's not what it is. Take these pills, right? So this is going to cost some money because this medicine isn't cheap. He says, okay, and then come back. That doctor, because if up here in Canada, if you don't have a family physician there, you usually have to go to a walk-in clinic or you go to Emerge and you get whatever doctor is on hand, and your file sort of floats around. Go in for a third time, get a different physician, and they go, "No, that's not what it is. These things, I don't know who would ever tell you this." So this is just my own personal experience,
Mhm.
and this is what it is, right? So they've made this, haven't even done any blood work yet or taken any fluids or anything. I'm going, don't you think that would be sort of, I guess, prudent, I guess, to sort of maybe uh, cross off some T's and dot some I's before we start going here, because I've been paying for all this medication that I never really needed in the first place. But I was like, okay, and then so this is what it is, and then okay, take this, okay, boom boom boom. A month later, okay, yeah, it hasn't done that. I said, can you just please send me to a specialist that deals with this? And then that, now we're all in the pandemic stage, a lot of places had closed down and that, and then finally uh, she kept on giving me what are those referrals, and but it was all referrals to her own race of people that had just come over to Canada. And I said, well, I want to go and talk to one of the best ones that is up here in Thunder Bay. I would like to get a referral to that person. And this physician's final words to me was, do not, I'll give you the referral, but do not ever contact me. I do not want to wish to be part of your medical voyage. And I went, okay, this is what a physician says to me. I was like, I just want to go and do what's best for me. And I just found that very surprising. And uh, I guess you just have to go after things and just go with your own gut and feeling, and get what you need to get done. And that's why I sort of was so against the part about government and one doctor making one cure all for everybody. That's all I have to say about that. There, what do you think, there, Laura?
Yeah, I think you have a point, but I think just what you shared there sort of illustrates what we're talking about. You had three or four different people, and they all had a different idea about what something was. Now, does that mean necessarily they're not good at what they do? No. It just depends their experience and what they've seen and where they've worked and what they've covered in their education. You know what I'm saying? So that just illustrates right there why it's good to get sometimes a third and fourth opinion, regardless of what it is. It could be your car, it could be buying a house, it could be getting rid of mold in your house, it could be anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really, because nobody is going to care about something concerning yourself, meaning the global yourself, than you. yourself because you have a vested interest in it. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that people don't care about other people when they're dealing with people, but nobody is going to care or be more vested in the outcome than the person seeking the assistance for themselves. I'll leave it at that.
Correct. That sounds pretty good. So we'll try and get into a sort of a different part of news and things that are going on. There's I was watching some news stories there today, and there was one there from Philadelphia, and I felt this was pretty interesting. So this one gas station in Philadelphia has hired armed security guards, and they carry M16s around in their around the perimeter of the business. And there was a poll that was given to people in the area, and I guess in customers and stuff like that, is how they felt about that with these private security firm protecting this gas station. Because there's another part there too, is there was also a other gas stations, and just even with any business there. And 64% of the people that were polled doing that, they approve the safety of having armed guards around the business to protect them. And we've noticed up here, you can attest to this there, Laura. I think this is about 3 or 4 Christmases ago. We had gone to the LCBO, and we were picking up some libations and that. And noticed we both noticed this one person there had a backpack with them, and they were filling it full of bottles and stuff like that. And we got up to the till, and we saw the guy, and said, "This is that guy's got a whole bunch of stuff there." And the girl at the till says, "Yeah, didn't." I said, and the guy just walked right out the door with all this stuff. And the part there through a lot of stores in our area, and that is that you don't arrest these people, you don't stop them, you don't anything, you just let them leave with their stuff. And you've seen this in the States there too as well, where people are going in, they don't get any charges really on them with theft under $1,000. And just I was sort of wondering where we've sort of come to this point in our lives where we minimalize theft.
Well, I think it depends where you live. We should tell people what the LCBO is. It's a in Ontario, in Canada, most provinces are anywhere where alcohol is sold. The government basically runs it because that's how people think we have free healthcare. We
Yeah.
don't. It's taxed. The prices are through the roof, and it's run through the government. That's how they recoup some of their losses. Everything is taxed up here. But what the important part you forgot to mention is, yeah, they had a bag full of stuff, and they were at the till, and they pretended like they were going to pay, and then they just basically took off without paying,
Yeah.
and nobody stopped them. And so we were right in line behind this person. So we were talking to the sales clerk. And the reason why up here, no, it's not the same everywhere, okay, but I know up here the reason why is because if, say, an employee went after somebody to try and stop them and they were injured, and it results in a workers' compensation claim that creates way more headaches and costs a lot more money than, say, just a couple bottles of alcohol. So what they do, we left this part out too, was everything's recorded, and our police come by weekly and review the tapes of the people that have taken what they've taken, and they look after it in that area. Whereas in the States, depending on what state you live in, yeah, a lot of stuff has been decriminalized when it comes to crime and theft and things like that. That is scary.
For sure. And other parts of news this one here, this was sort of a little bit different. And I sort of relate this one to these fringe groups that are out there. You can agree or disagree, but we've all heard about this in the news of these fringe groups going against technology and being green and going and spraying paint or whatever type of substance on these works of art, and then the people gluing their hands to the wall. And that they did this also, I think, at one of the car dealerships or car places, factories, where they gone in, they they crazy glued their hands to the floor of this of this factory that made cars and that. And all they did was, okay, well, it's the weekend. They just shut the lights off and just left. Okay, we're done. Just left them there. Well, I guess they didn't really leave them there. I guess there was still security there. But a part there that we came onto the news that I saw, this was either yesterday or it was early this morning that I saw, is that there's been a rash of people sabotaging electrical grid transformer stations and relay stations. And as it gets to this part of wintertime and getting colder weather and that, damaging the grid or damaging these things, and this causes power outages to places. And when the grid shuts down, I went through one big one there that when the grid went down back, I think it was like 2003 in Toronto, and that was from a backup station. I think it was in Buffalo, New York, where it had tripped the northeastern grid through New York and through into Quebec and into southern Ontario. We were out power for 5 days. Some places went up a little bit sooner than that. And that was during the hot of the summer. So all air conditioners and everything like that, all your food was gone. I was working at Dominion Grocery at the time. We had to throw away all our frozen and dairy products. Everything was gone. But I'm not sure where the mentality is of people going and damaging infrastructure. Have you heard anything about that there, Laura, at all?
I have, and I don't know if I necessarily believe that every single case of what's been happening over the last couple of weeks is a fringe group. I think that may be the story that's being put out there. I don't get me wrong, there probably is, but sorry, I just got a message I'm trying to disregard. But yeah, and it seems like, the timing of it seems a little suspect as well, with it being wintertime, regardless of where you live in North America. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's places that don't get snow and things like that, but there's also many places that do. And I don't think what people realize as well is when the grid goes down, regardless of where you live, it's not just your lights and your heat, your water, and I think the word you said was infrastructure, and you're absolutely right. Like, I don't think people realize how much is automated by AI and, computers. So when the grid goes down, everything goes down. So it's scary.
Yeah, it is there. That I can remember back before, I think it was the first year that Donald Trump was in there, and they were talking about problems with infrastructure, and there could be problems of power outages and that they said there before is that to prepare to make sure you had at least 3 months, and then they changed it
6.
then they changed it to 6 months of
Mhm.
backup food and water and supplies, is that just in case something had happened, and whether that was foreshadowing to things that are happening now, I don't know. But just random events that I've been seeing on the news, and it's sort of this is why I don't like to watch the news. People pushing people on subway platforms in front of trains. And these people are caught on closed circuit uh, television. Oh, let's see, we got here Raymond G. Newsom. Hey there, Raymond.
Hey,
Thanks for
Raymond.
joining in there. And I've seen some other ones there of people with baseball bats just walking up and just drilling somebody in the head, just random people, and just walking away. And I just don't understand where we've come to this mentality or this thing of where we go and damage just regular people out there. And I
Well,
just
we're
even with
getting in. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
just even the part with the thefts into stores and stuff like that is just I don't know where we sort of have gone here.
We're seeing we're seeing a lot of violent crime, and a lot of really, like, it's kind of scary. And I think what sort of put it in the forefront is, I understand that, and with good reason, why the murder of these 4 Indiana college students has been really put out there. But there's also a lot of people that are involved in the true crime community, so they are super sleuths. Some of the things people find, I cannot believe they find them. But the reason I mention it is just that small area, Moscow, Indiana, the
Mhm.
amount of things they have found in the last year that have happened, that local police keep saying they're not related, but like, I don't even want to say it. I'll give it a trigger warning and be very careful how I say it. Let's just say somebody's pet dog went outside and didn't return. They found them the next morning, and the dog its life had been taken in a very unusual way, and it was definitely a human being by the way it was done. Yet that's not supposed to be related. Then there was another guy a mile away from the crime scene that apparently had already committed a murder and had gone to jail, and he was caught in the act again. Like, to me, it's like, what is going on here that we're getting all these violent people out there? And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say the world is a bad place. It's just, I mean, this is just one little geographical area, and this is not unique. Like, there's something very odd going on. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I can definitely speak about North America, what we're seeing out there that just makes the news, never mind what doesn't.
Well, exactly. Another part of news there I saw there today was the basketball WNBA player Brittany Griner was returned to the U.S. She was actually, the way I looked at the story there, she was actually playing in Russia for about 8 years. So she was, I guess you say, WNBA superstar. She was, I guess, on the Olympic team for the U.S. there too as well. And this gets into this whole mentality is that uh, people think what they can do in their own home and stuff like that translates to what you can do in other countries. And what she was found with vapes and vials containing residues of hashish. And she was carrying that in her personal baggage. And she got caught with it and she was thrown in jail. Now, whether or not this was political, extra political motivation. They were dealing with changing of. There's a lot of I guess not conspiracy, but speculation onto why she was charged for 9 years in a Russian prison and not released. But it's I guess the pull that she had there because she was also I guess a notable athlete, and there's also always special considerations that are given to people that have money or people that are in power or high stature. But the part that I sort of wonder about is that where in your thinking in your head that you would ever think about bringing in illegal narcotics into a foreign country. Like that was one of the first things I knew about when when I was traveling with my family, not with bringing out narcotics or anything like that, but there was just traveling when you left the country, you came there, you had to claim things from duty that you bought. And if you didn't, you got caught with it, you got fined or you lost your stuff. And just, is this stuff that's not taught or not known anymore?
Well, I think we've kind of gone to this. It's probably a topic for another show because we're almost out of time. But the thing is, we're seeing this the me society that people only thinking about themselves and service to self instead of service to others. So when we get very egocentric like that and think that, I'm sorry, a lot of people out there think the world just revolves around them. So when you go to another part of the world, I guess, you know, for some reason, recognize that the rules aren't the same as they are in your own backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are almost out of time there. I forgot to mention that. Thank you very much. Hey, you and Kitty Pot there for watching the ones and twos.
You
Always.
stole Kitty Pot from me. I was looking for Kitty Pot. I was going, why does this animal have this name and who is it? And then he showed. And I looked everywhere because he has a friend. I don't know what his name is. He's not named, but I'll show him for Halloween. And there's usually a spider, and the kitty goes with him. And I could not find the kitty. Well, the kitty migrated downstairs with Hey You. You might have to show people who Hey You is because they won't know.
Oh yeah, well, that's Hey You. I guess wherever that, and then his buddy there, Kitty Pot. They monitor the connection there. Didn't do a good job there the last 2 weeks in a row. There we had technical issues, and finally they're on the ball this time there. So tell them where they can find you there, Lorilei.
You guys can find me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. If you ever have a show idea, guest idea, or you want to book a reading with me, healing sessions with me. And my show, The Angel Rock, is right here on United Public Radio Networks on Mondays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this Monday, coming up, I have Dave Petrella. He's been on both of our shows before. He's also a podcaster. He's an astrologist. He's been involved with Oak Island, all kinds of things. Super interesting guy. So we're going to have a fun show Monday night. So I hope you guys will tune in and join me. Thanks for having me, Del.
Yes, and as it goes there, we're in the month of December. There's 20-something days left before you hit the big jolly green or jolly red guy there with wears a hat like that.
Oh,
So
I got to remind people. I got to remind people that because I just found out Monday night. You guys stay tuned. Next week, starting, UPRN will be streaming live on TV via Roku. And very shortly, in the next couple months, we are also going to be going through Amazon and Apple TV. It's going to increase our platform hugely and other places for you to watch. So I want to make sure I mention that.
perfect. That sounds good. Well, this was the delicious recipe, and still is the delicious recipe. Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time we run, and we'll see who my guests are going to be there. I got some prospects going up there. I've talked to Gavin and some interesting authors with some interesting stories and ways of looking at things and books and stuff like that. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week. Have a good one, guys and girls.